Welcome back, everyone, to Game 3 of Team Dignitas versus Cloud9. First and foremost, got to take care of some business. If you look at the stage, Impact is back in the lineup here, subbing in for Ray on Cloud9's top lane.
He's back. We've seen this as well when some people have these really established players that actually don't start a series. Is if things do go awry a little bit, they bring them right back. And in that last game, Someday at some points had 70 and 80 CS leads on Ray. Really got far ahead in that game, so it's time to bring back an Impact. He's experienced in his tank play, and that's the way these drafts are going. So not too surprising to see Impact subbed in here.
Definitely not surprising. We'll see what ends up actually happening in the matches here. It's been interesting to watch because both games now, teams have played different styles of compositions, and it's been the team playing the more split-push focused one that came out on top. In Game 1, it was Jensen's Echo. In Game 2, it was Keen's Twisted Fate.
Exactly. Both games have been slightly favored to Team Dignitas in the early game. But yeah, it's cool to see both teams win with the 1-3-1 style. And then you wonder about the meta of the series and whether that now becomes the thing that both teams go for, or if they just double down on making sure they have strong leaning into strong team fighting.
Right, because one thing that comes to mind is the fact that Chasers seems to have been outperforming Contracts overall in the early game. The early leads often do come as a result of your junglers, and maybe C9, though they are on red side, can find a way to ban a few of these champions.
Yeah, well, in order to do that, they would have to break away from the LeBlanc, Camille, Rengar bans on the red side, and that generally means you have to be okay with any one-for-one trade. So with the Rengar ban, that generally seals their fate into banning Camille as well, and it is Team Dignitas that maintains all the flexibility, at least in the first phase of bans.
We'll see what they can pinch it down to. Varus entering the ban phase, and Shen also on the table. Now, the rest of the tanks are available, of course, but that one's gone.
Yeah, this tells me that Someday wants to first pick Maokai, because Shen has been what's worked against it. Oh, would they not first pick Maokai even with Impact on the other side?
They think Fior's good enough as the counter-off matchup.
They had also banned the Varus, so they're getting rid of the Varus Ashe, but with the Shen ban, the thing is, these teams have been defying expectations as far as patterns in pick and ban phase goes. It is something that Reaper has been very good at, is heavily varying his style from game to game, whereas most coaches, you feel like they're just drafting off a tier list. It doesn't feel like Reaper does that, which makes him one of the hardest coaches in the league to read in pick and ban phase. And I mean, I would normally expect a Maokai to be picked right here, but really with Reaper, he's unpredictable.
In my mind, he saves it for the last round and says, show me the Fiora or else. And if that is the counter that people are happy to play, then it's just going to default go to red side. Otherwise, Ryze left on the table. Now, Cassio, known as the common counter pick, could be available as the rotation here, but it's a strong mid laner that we know is highly sought after. Going to go to Jensen.
Absolutely. And Team Dignitas have the chance to take the Ashe Zyra lane away from C9 if they want to do so.
Yeah, and you can only get one of Misfortune or Maokai, so to a certain extent, Dignitas can say, yeah, go ahead. Which of the better ones do you want? Which of the advantageous matchups do you want to look for? But they're worried about the Cassio being banned away and the Lee Sin being banned away, and so Dignitas just going to mirror the roles, it looks like. They don't want to give up the opportunity to pick high-profile mid and jungle. Yeah,
and here's the question that's going to be facing C9 at this point, is there's already the AD banned on, or AD picked on one side of Team Dignitas, so if they do not pick a Jhin here, they're immediately pushed back away from the utility AD carries.
There we go. Jhin, yep, that's going to be, I believe, locked in, so that's the pickup. And they're going to mirror the roles after all.
Yeah, second game in a row, they've decided to mirror the three roles on both sides. So this time it's AD, jungle, and mid that have all been picked, meaning it is support and top lane that will be pulled in after this next draft phase. And with C9 having the flexibility of the mini first pick on the next side, since Team Dignitas didn't choose to prioritize Maokai, they forced the Maokai ban with the Fiora ban. And we're going to be seeing a whole new world in that top lane this game.
All right, is it Misfortune, Zyra, Malzahar, the trinity of supports that we might be seeing? Jace? Nope, it's not. It's still that flex. Well, it's not flex anymore. It's only a top laner, but the carry top is gone. Not going to allow it to be picked up.
They keep banning these. I mean, it depends if they want to play tanks or carries. The top lane pool has actually expanded a fair bit for these guys. We've seen stuff like Kennen happening over in Korea. Jason, Fiora ban, Maokai ban. Poppy and Nautilus are the two tanks that would still be technically available. But since the teams have mirrored roles, they gain a lot more ban flexibility. And these very heavily are now target bans. So the Zyra is taken away because that could have been a valuable mini first pick by C9 in phase 2 of the pick phase.
Sure thing. So now it's time for them to pick their final, well, not final champion, but they get the first dibs and what's left over. It's top lane and support. Once again, the roles left over. Nautilus, their best remaining tank in their minds. They're going to save support for counter pick. Nautilus locked in.
Absolutely, Nautilus locked in with Shen and Maokai as two tanks being banned away. With Misfortune and Zyra, or sorry, just Zyra off the board, Malzahar does become a little bit more valuable. And Poppy would be the other tank if that's what Team Dignitas wants.
Absolutely, and of course C9 had the choice. They would rather play the Nautilus side of the matchup. Either Impact feels more comfortable or the team thinks it's better. In either case, they went for that one instead. And here we go, the last pick to come through. They need to support Cloud9. The tier list book says you pick Misfortune as the counter, but there are other options available.
Yeah, that is very true. Also, we saw a interesting pick by Team Liquid yesterday when they went with a Lulu, but it's all tanks and engage here going with Tarek against the Malzahar.
We saw it before, actually. I think it was the P1 Dignitas series. Tarek was played into Malzahar, and Smoothie's going to do the same thing. That's going to be the matchup here. Two tanks in the lineup, hoping to keep everyone else super, super durable. Sneaking in a hard time, killing through the tanks. A lot of the weight of damage goes on Jensen's shoulders now.
Yeah, it really does, and as far as really late game damage, that favors the Cassiopeia, and these guys have been playing each other very tight in the mid game. This is very close to Mimic compositions this time. No huge advantage in a 1-3-1 or double TP on either side. So despite both teams winning with their double TP efforts, neither team brings double TP into the final game.
Yeah, but just draft went differently. The mid laners were picked earlier on. It meant you weren't playing for the split pushers. The tier list says you play team fighters, the Cassiopeia and the Rise of the world. And that's what it's going to be. The coaches shake hands, and that's going to be for the last time in this series. This is the last game of the week to close out week 1 of the North American LCS as Team Dignitas hits the Rift one more time against Cloud9. Both these teams 1-0, and one of them must join FlyQuest in first place.
Yeah, and regardless of the result, it is an impressive first week for both Team Dignitas and Cloud9 because they have shown so strongly early on, but it's going to feel really good when one of them can walk away with the 2-0.
Absolutely agree. So the fans are ready to go. The cheers in the audience, the seats still mostly full here this Sunday evening as we get ourselves into our final game of week 1. Team Dignitas versus Cloud9, game 3. Here we go.
Yeah, huge props to the audience right here because we started games at 12 noon and we are now
about
6 hours in just starting the final game. TSM versus Immortals went the distance. Same with Team Dignitas versus Cloud9, and they have both been fantastic series.
Well, it's raining outside, Jat. I don't want to be anywhere else but indoors watching League of Legends. It's Los Angeles. I don't know what it's like.
In Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Special tweeted out the drought was over, and then we had a pun battle on Twitter. It was great. I recommend everyone follow him on Twitter and look it up. It was magical.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it was magical. There were lots of people groaning and telling us to stop, and eventually we did. Special, my new favorite player on the LCS. I appreciate that. And we can see Storm Raiders surge on both mid laners. I'm so glad mid laners have learned that that is actually an amazing keystone. It had very low adoption early on in its life. It got some buffs, and slowly but surely people realize these teamfight mages really, really love the move speed.
I also want to point out that Someday has gone Grasp of the Undying on Poppy instead of Courage of the Colossus, which will give him those massive teamfight shields. Does not want to get shoved in by Impact.
Yeah.
Wants to be able to win those 1v1 trades because normally in this matchup, the reason Nautilus is favored is because he can just push in the Poppy so early and then use that to roam.
You see Impact timing his W shield so that it can block as much damage before it times out, and he can start his mana regen just a little bit sooner. Although he stopped tanking, so he probably could have left that on a little bit longer. Either way, doesn't mean a whole lot. Quick red buff take for contracts. Q, auto, down it goes. 100 gold in his pockets. Chaser, a similar leash from Someday, gets his blue buff and continues on through the Gromp. Chaser's actually done pretty much the same. Ooh, look at that trade. But you can see the players knowing the limit. Sneaky went for 1 auto attack, maybe 2, and said, Void Leagues are painful, we're done with this trade. And that's actually a very smart choice, realizing what the trade looks like in the laning phase, knowing that a longer trade favors the mage, and he peels out early. Absolutely the right choice for Sneaky.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the game for these really experienced guys is being able to look ahead more than reacting to what's happening. They know what they expect when they're coming into trades, and they actually are the ones that get level 2 first because of the way the wave bounced back.
And they can look for the stun mix special. but they're not quite going to go for it. Smoothie, worth noting, did go Grasp at the end, dying, so his trade power is actually up a little bit in this laning phase, but it means he won't get those shields or anything else. He's just going to hope he can actually get the damage across in team fights, heal up a little bit. Quick bounce hits special, and a shot at Lod.
Yeah, I mean, Malzahar against a melee support is always a really difficult matchup, but they go all in.
Sneaky's wild away from the crit. He's going to go for it, but the exhaust, he doesn't wait it out. Sneaky could have gotten the kill if he waited out, but look at the dive. Contracts trying to trade back on a chaser. The kill still comes through to Keen. A bloody early game. Lod walking away safely enough. Sneaky can't get on him.
And we were watching the bottom lane, but where did Keen come from? It's level 3. Why is Keen killing a jungler under the turret? Really early on the roam by Keen. He burns both summoner spells because he had the early shove advantage on the rise in that mid lane, and it pays off.
Chaser wants back in. No sums on Smoothie. The chase is on. Looking for the damage up, but can he find a ward to jump to? Not just quite, and he can't get anything else done. The heal comes out of Sneaky for the move speed and the health, and C9 gonna walk away.
Wow, what a start. So in the first 2 games, C9 had the advantage in the bottom lane, but look at this. This time, this was the same path Contracts took in game 1, but Chaser wasn't there. This time, Chaser had been hopping over the Dragon Pit, I think with the plan, and that's why Keen was following, and then he's got Ghost. So he knows Contracts can only run so far. Let's see if they can Blast Cone. He does Blast Cone, but Chaser saved his Resonating Strike. Keen gets him with the poison and the auto attack, and a double buff mid laner 3 minutes in is a spectacular start for Team Dignitas.
The sad thing is we saw that Contract was willing to flash, but he didn't think that Chase was going to be that good. He could have flashed the wallman out of it, but he let the Q land, and the chase came through, and well done to Team Dignitas to get that advantage. It's going to feel real good for that duo.
Yeah, and it just hurts Sneaky and Smoothie that much more that their jungler has also died this early, because melee support against a Malzahar struggles a lot unless you're able to all in. They've now not only lost their summoner spells, but also lost the jungle pressure. So it should allow Xpecial and Lod to really start bullying that lane.
Right now it's plus 13. We'll see what it actually looks like as the wave gets cleared out. A Relic Shield stack used by Smoothie to make it a little bit easier. Contracts back into the jungle, not really feeling down about the first Blood Death, but he walked through a ward to do so. I don't know if he's going to get much against Keen. Now, Jensen does have Flash available, and theoretically Keen is an attackable champion, attackable player. It's not going to happen. That ward, that trinket, just stops everything the Contracts could try to do.
Yeah, so another tricky start for Contracts on Kha'Zix. His LCS career started amazingly against TSM, getting first blood on Wild Turtle, the 2 new acquisitions between those 2 teams. But here against Chaser, who had a rough game on Rengar yesterday, but then some very good performances. Chaser's Lee Sin has been very good thus far. Also, varying his starts, because they played blue side, red side, Lee Sin, Kha'Zix in game 1. Contracts did exactly the same thing. Chaser varied to counter it, and that's what gave him the first blood.
It was beautifully executed. The intelligence was there, the mechanics were also there, and you marry those things together and you have an amazing jungler, and Chaser so far seems to be just that. There were questions about how good he really was. He predicted the Jensen juke, and Jensen read it. That's not really Chaser missing, that's him making a prediction, but that one was a wrong prediction.
Oh man.
I'm not gonna give my story about Chaser being good, all right? Even if he doesn't land the Sonic Wave.
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting thing about just the way you do and do not dodge skill shots, and there's almost this strange curve that happens as you get higher and higher in skill, because very low elo players run in straight lines. They don't try and dodge skill shots, right? Good players, a lot of times juke left, so to speak, so like they would be running in a straight line and then they just juke backwards, and then oftentimes the skill shot is shooting like they wouldn't dodge. But pro players actually keep going. Since they expect the person to stop, oftentimes they just run in straight lines and dodge skill shots, because you're so expecting someone to juke, it all becomes a mind game at that point at the highest level. And Jensen just literally ran away and didn't juke at all, and that was the juke. So Chaser missed his cue.
Pros don't fake, Jeff. You should know that. Pros don't fake. You only go one direction, and it's beautiful. That, or Jensen's not an ambi-turner, and you have no way of getting away from it. Who knows?
I think I've seen enough Jensen games to know he is capable of turning.
You're right. You're right. I was kidding. He can definitely turn both directions. Quick blue buff transfer. Keen, his second of the game. He got Contracts. Now he gets his own. And Keen gets to feel great having tons of mana in the pool. Stacking up the tier. Has a Negatron Cloak as well to make sure that Jensen can't deal meaningful damage to him in a trade. And Keen has all the tools he needs to scale throughout the game. He doesn't even need help anymore. Just his Ghost is back up. His Flash is up in about 30 seconds. It's going to be a very hard to assault lane.
Yeah, yesterday Keen played this exact matchup into Ryu's Rise and unfortunately did get solo killed fairly early on in the lane, but then was still very powerful in teamfights. So in this game, when he was able to roam and get the double buffs early, now his summoner spells are off cooldown and he's just even in CS. It's a bright teamfight future for Keen.
Worth noting, Impact gets dibs in the top lane matchup, and he's up 10 CS as a result. You can see him pushing Someday around. The double Doran's ring gives him a lot of push pressure, and Someday, yeah, down 14, he'll get some back, but Impact going back in and getting top lane pick priority is working out for him.
So many bans and mind games going on in that champ select. Both teams technically had the opportunity to pick Maokai early, but that was before they'd been able to ban out Fiora, so both of the teams were respecting each other's ability to carry. Then they end up on kind of the slightly lower tier tank matchups, but like you said, Impact picked first. And even though Someday has taken grasp for a hopefully stronger laning phase, Impact just shoves too fast, and he knows exactly what to do in these tank matchups, much like Someday. So interested to see those guys battled out and see if Someday can keep it close.
Oh, Chaser's gonna find a friend. Doesn't go for the actual shot right there. Smoothie could have stunned him pretty easily, and it would have been a pain to deal with. Just watch the mid laners trade back and forth, and Jensen, getting his own blue buff now, can feel much more comfortable. Root into a spell combo, but we know Keen can do plenty himself. Actually triggers Storm Raiders and walks back out of range to not get overloaded. Chaser plays for vision control, and just looking at the two junglers, because I'm curious about the matchup, it is a 200 gold lead for Chaser, just slightly more than he got from the first blood assist. I think it was 176, it was early on in the game. Looking for Drake control right now is Cloud9 running through the Scuttle Crab boost, killing off the control ward, or rather the trinket ward that was recently put down by Chaser. And back down they go, just with the vision control over the river.
We got bot lanes, level 6. Flawed. We're getting a decent amount of solo experience, actually. X-Special still level 5. But as soon as he hits level 6, that's a potential kill lane. One thing about Taric, though, is if he's preempting it, those Ash Arrow into, or Malzahar ult and Ash Arrow combos can kill in longer than 2.5 seconds, so Smoothie would have time to channel his ultimate if they're going for sneaky.
As soon as you see an arrow coming your way, you're like, all right, W on the target that got hit R. By the time they collapse, will probably be okay. Yeah, there's actually a nice soft counter there of Taric into Ash. It's not always easy. You can see him take damage like this. But he's mostly shielding the damage. He's trying not to spam Q as mana efficiency goes up the less you cast it. And Smoothie is staying afloat in what's pretty clearly not a great matchup. But there's the main CC, and Smoothie this time doesn't have the chance to press the buttons. The kickback is there, but the damage still lives. It wasn't quite enough. It's just not enough damage, and he barely slinks away with his health. And that was 3 ultis and a flash burn for nothing.
Yeah, heal comes out from Sneaky, keeps him alive just long enough for the sunglasses to come down and grant invulnerability on Taric. It's exactly what we were talking about. I thought Team Dignitas, they had exactly the right idea. Go for the Taric, lock him down, do not let him precast the ultimate. But then, even after the entire CC chain had ended, he still casts it and stays alive. So a lot of that is just due to general tankiness. Yeah. But a missed kill there for Team Dignitas.
The durable dude, he had the 3-stat Q available, and he had the shield to cast all that. I believe he can cast while moving, and it was just enough health to add to the pool to stay alive. That was, though, good execution by Team Dignitas. Just sadly not enough for him. And we'll see what round 2 looks like. This time, though, X-Special won't have flash for the play. Jensen again in the trade with Keen, and Keen gets the speed boost. Jensen the same, and they retreat back to their corners.
Even though there was that early first blood by Keen, the game remaining very competitive. First Ash Arrow, unable to get the kill for Team Dignitas, but the question will be how quickly are they able to repeat those ganks? And also, does C9 do anything in the window of that Ash and Malzahar arrow being down?
Yeah, Sneaky has his own ultimate. Maybe they can make the play with that. They can get Jensen in on something. Special would be the more obvious target, the flashless, no-escape Malzahar. I think you can land the slows and get the assassination through, maybe. Looks like it's not the trigger that they're going to pull just now. Cloud and Special, they would actually secure that scuttle in the jungle, in the river. Their own control ward secures more of the vision down here, and it makes a lot of darkness for C9 on that side of the map.
Absolutely. It's going to be very tricky for C9 to push up in that lane, but kind of knew they were going to be pushed in for most of the laning phase. They've done well not to die. Trying to get aggressive.
This time it's a trade won by Jensen. He makes sure, I believe, to get the shield on during the trade. And there's a flash chase. Woo! He wants the kill. A nice stun comes in, and Chaser's in the mix. Ult kick, there's the kill. Not even a problem. Asher are going to whiff. The shots from Jin. Chaser's got to block them. And actually looks like He got stopped out there. Sneaky, I think, had to be afraid of Mal's. Actually, special burned ulti, so I think he tagged.
Yeah, either special ultied or silenced. He got it a little bit off screen.
His ult's on cooldown, I know that, so he used it at least a certain extent. Maybe Smoothie stun to get him off.
Keen just barely able to avoid that. Contracts went big, but he could not land his W. Also could not turn away from the Cassiopeia. Ends up being his demise. As soon as that Cassiopeia all landed, it was just Chaser, even though he was invisible while he was stunned, Chaser's like, that's probably hit, throwing a Q into the air.
Yep.
Combo it with the kick and got the execute.
Nice big trade, good chunk of CC, but the damage output, the follow-through isn't there, of course. Sneaky's ult on cooldown means not enough. You can see the power that can be done. It's a pretty bursty lane if it all lands.
Yeah, so watching this fight one more time, Jensen actually wins the trade with Keen. It gets him quite low. And that signals Contracts. He wants to go in for the big play. Flashes, wants to get the jump damage, gets it, but then misses his W while he's invisible and gets stunned. Chaser's like, sees the spot, Q, RQ, kill completed.
Yeah. Worth pointing out that even though he is hard invisible, you get the shimmer when you deal damage. Cassiopeia deals plenty of it, and he's like, I know exactly where that stun champion is. And the easy Q seeks in. Chaser and Keen, both of them, 100% participation. Those two have been picking on Contract when they get the chance to. And it's looked good 3 games in a row now.
They really have developed some nice synergy. Everyone talks about how Chaser and Someday would come over and try and be that Korean jungler and top lane duo a la Reignover and Huni and just take over the NLCS, but people kind of sleep on Keen. Also a Korean speaker, although the team is playing in English, but he's developed quite a good amount of synergy early on with Chaser. Another good sign for Team Dignitas.
Definitely is. We've even heard a couple of sound ups of the team. But if you want to go back and listen to the rollouts after every individual game, you hear a couple of team fights from Team Dignitas' point of view. And yeah, even if they're not fluent, you're hearing I can go, I can go. They're calling out targets. And you're hearing audio evidence that the Team Dignitas Koreans are playing in English. And at least in team fights, they are communicating as best they can. So far, it is a very heartening early run for Team Dignitas. And you expect that to get better over time as well. It's right, a fresher team, a lot of new faces on the roster, already look pretty good. Sky's the limit, it looks like right now for Team Dignitas.
Yeah, let's also note that this is a very competitive game as well between Team Dignitas and C9. Jensen still doing work in that mid lane, despite not getting any kills. And this game really is going to look like it's going to be decided by the team fight phase. Both teams, strong tanks, 80 junglers, carry mid laners, like very mimic team compositions as we mentioned in the champ select phase. Here they go.
Okay, there's the passive removed. Hit 1, hit 2, and Dush gets the 4th shot off in time, but it doesn't matter. The Ash arrow not really canceling a ton. Smoothie afraid of what could happen in the fight. Pops ulti, and it's a disengage on both sides here. Special loses the flash, and a couple of ultis burned by the Cloud9 duo.
Yeah, and it's also double back on the conversation of Team Dignitas looking quite strong. This matchup, whoop, here we go with Contracts.
Ulti in. Oh, he misses the Q Chaser. That one's just, that wasn't a dodge. That was a straight mistake, unfortunately.
Keen ghosting?
Yeah, Keen getting around the mix. The flash Q. Impact catches it. Rise is going to be there. How good's the engage going to be? It's great. That's the kill picked up. C9 finally on the board.
Knows exactly where they can go for a kill. You could see Keen was ghosting long before because he knew he was in danger, but that does not dissuade Impact from continuing his chase. Now they put all 5 people mid lane to go for the turret.
It's a good chance they can take this one down. Lod's wave clear only so strong, and how threatening can that squad really be? A special ulti-less. The hook's gonna land. They want Lod right away, and he is in the wrong spot for this one. Turret taking plenty of damage. Impact not even losing the health bar. First turret as well to Cloud9. And there we go. The expectations for this was the top team in North America. And yes, I've been seeing the Team Dignitas praises, but C9, veteran status showing through.
Absolutely. They were in the North American LCS finals last year. Took it to 4 games. Contracts coming in super hyped. Has been held down in this series, but trying to make some back right here. We're going to watch this fight one more time. Contracts goes in. Special gets the ult, and Chaser just straight up whiffs. That hurts Team Dignitas' chances, because that means Contracts is still available for this fight. Impact ult, or flash Q doesn't even need to ult right away. Chains the ult point blank, chain the CC. Chain also with the Taric stun, so just a whole bunch of things you're not escaping from. C9 with the 1,000 gold.
Very nicely done right here. 1,000 gold up, and finally, actually, it's a mid-game where C9 are feeling a little bit more comfortable. It's been rough early for them before. It has been Chaser playing the jungle better than Contracts specifically, but a couple of nice plays and Impact. And picking up right where we left off, he was some people's best top laner by the very end of last year. It was debatable, certainly, and then we're like, ooh, okay, they picked up Ray, that's interesting. But Impact looking a bit better than Ray in the small sample size we've had so far in this series.
Absolutely. They sub him back in to play this tank v tank matchup. He's doing a very good job keeping Someday as well just neutralized. Someday is the superstar top laner of Team Dignitas, so Impact's had a larger influence over the game than him. Something world champion, I feel like, whenever you're talking about Impact.
Yep. See how much more of that they can have. See the 1,000 gold lead remaining as it is. The tank support doing just fine against Malzahar overall. Sneaky is going for a not great tank killing build. It's the Yomu's first, the somewhat earlier power spike. He's good at killing squishies. These games have generally been going fairly late. I would expect Team Dignitas' tank killing and team fighting to probably outscale a slow game once again. Feels like it maybe favors them compositionally. Yeah,
even though Ryze can scale pretty aggressively, the Cassiopeia is really the one who does the sustained damage in the team fights, and Ashe also has higher damage than Jhin, not to mention when he's going the Ghostblade build, which has a little bit earlier of a power curve. But just to speak to the overall flow of these games, these teams are kind of playing here like the two best teams in the LCS. They have had less chaos in their games, and I feel like a lot more order in the way they are orchestrating their plays, timing their teleports, flashing to know their limits, and most importantly, also being able to get away from some relatively well-orchestrated engages. So the lower kill count doesn't always mean you are a higher caliber team, but in this game I feel like they're playing that way just because they understand the win conditions of each other.
I definitely agree. The subjective quality of the plays these teams are making seems very, very high. And I think these are going to be two teams that are very fun to watch throughout the rest of the season. Off to early leads, and we'll see how much more they can do as time goes on. Only one of these teams can win, but I agree, Jat, these both look like very strong squads. As we know, teams only get better over time. Someday once again in the trade with Impact, but Impact's shield blocked all the damage he was dealing. Sunfire Cape only meaning so much on both these sides. Further pressure on this bot lane turret. Sneaky getting a fair bit done. See if the rotation comes in any farther. Impact's teleport is back up. I believe he used it earlier to be part of a fight. I could be wrong. Arrow's gonna land it. Just kidding, he's gonna flash away, but now Special wants in. Damage on a smoothie, but how much can they get? What's gonna flash away, save his ult for now, gonna pop it, and Someday gonna knock back two of the frontliners. 3-man ulti keeps him durable for now. Sneaky's gotta run. He's got 4 more shots, but Keen is on, and Someday gets the kill credit. Back into Chaser, a stun on an Impact, kicks him in. Not quite finding the backliners though, and Chaser actually delivers him an exit when he was trying to find a knock-up to find someone else to kill. 1 for 0, but C9 still wants in. They feel good about this. Health bar's not too squishy.
Yeah, every ultimate used in that fight for Team Dignitas. Impact still has his, which is why he's looking for one. But they're sticking strong around the turret to avoid an odd-numbered turret dive.
Team Dignitas keeps their turret safe, takes the kill, walks away with it, feels good about that. And we'll have this map reset, the gold lead down to 500.
Yeah, really interesting collapse right there as Laud tried to land the arrow, but that was still meaning Team Dignitas was ready to hit the go button.
See what they can get. Yeah, Impact trying to be cheeky. I like the idea of that play. Make it look like everyone's recalling except Jensen, but really Impact's there. But Keen, smart player, sniffs it out. Says something cheeky might be happening, and he's correct.
And we're gonna watch this one more time. Laud shoots! Just flashed by Sneaky, and the teleport was already channeled. So they go for Smoothie anyway because they know Poppy's getting in first. He gets in slightly first, and then manages to just time it with the TP arrival of Impact and gives them immediate numbers advantage in which they can zone out Sneaky because Someday eliminated the front line and allowed Keen to move right on to Sneaky. Then they kick Impact back once again to make sure he can't repeat the initiation, and it was just a well-played fight overall by Team Dignitas.
Gotta agree on that one, bringing the game back to close. Contract's trying to get his own red buff, at least feels safe inside his own jungle. Unlike some of the other Cossacks, is going for Wings Evolve second. It's still up for debate based on how the teams want to play. Contract's nicely done, manages to grab away the scuttle. Not too hard for a Cossacks, but still important to get it. Next strike is Ocean. It's going to be in a while. Team Dignitas has an Infernal. Cloud9, of course, has their own eponymous Drake. Next one's going to be Ocean. And Baron Nashor is alive. Impact managed to make the top lane push happen. His lane pressure finally pushes through, and he gets a couple hundred gold for his troubles.
Yeah, I'm becoming suspicious about the number of Cloud Drakes we've seen in the North American LCS. The first games today across both streams, there were 5 out of 6 Drakes taken in the first game were Cloud Drakes.
Yep.
So,
woo!
It's happening. Woo, go fast.
Yeah, cheering for the best Drake in the game. You're right. Good job, audience. See? Some yelled Infernal. Yeah. You're the kind of people who like cats. I don't like that, you know. You're just objectively wrong about your value judgments.
I don't agree with your arguments.
I know. I'm just trolling a little bit. There's the stun to Sneaky, but is it enough? Contract's flashing, and it's a trade of flashes. Lod flashed away. He might have been in range if he hadn't have done so. Either way, Jensen's ult doesn't mean too much. Trade of spells.
Absolutely. A lot of attempts there for C9 to get the pick, but I like Lod immediately just understanding where to interrupt the Gen ultimate by firing the Ash Arrow. Avoid a whole bunch of damage that could be coming through. This game's spreading out a little bit as at least around the 24-minute mark before the next Drake comes up. It's about getting your wave shoving, maximizing your farm, and then because both these are teamfight comps, we might see a big fight at Drake.
See if it happens. 1 minute 15-ish to go until that Drake spawns. Chaser back into his own jungle. There is a couple of deep wards for C9, not as much for Team Dignitas. Of course, the gold still over 2,000 up for Cloud9. We'll see if they can keep that lead going. Worried about their late game scaling or not. You've got a big gold lead on Jensen. Looking at him at your screen right now. Can he find the solo kill? Probably not. But the battle is for vision. C9 in that opposing jungle, looking to get the vision up. Jensen recalls on a ward, but he will be safe.
A really early Guardian Angel by Chaser. You normally see the Dead Man's Plate as the second item if they're going tanky, but
yeah,
that to me speaks like they're really hoping to swing a mid-game team fight, because Guardian Angel gives you that quick power spike as soon as you build it, even if it might not be the most efficient thing to build. At this point of the game, that revive has so much value. Knowing the Drake is up in 25 seconds and Team Dignitas need a little bit to get them over the edge, it's hard for me to disagree with that choice right now.
Let's see if they can get it. Team Dignitas playing more for the top side of the map. They've basically been controlling different halves of the vision. A blue trinket used by Cloud9 to see if the Baron sneak was happening. It's not, but Impact is alone up here. He's got to be careful. Chaser gonna get the kick, just completely plays it right. The silence is there as well, and Impact not long for the world. Flashing away to buy some time because Cloud9's running it down the mid lane, hoping to get everything they can, and Impact just buying time as much as he possibly can, but he's got a very short lease on life. There's the pickup right there. One turret down. Jensen shoving out the bottom lane turret. Another turret down. Actually, a trade kill as well as Ash was picked off. Lod alone defending the base. Shouldn't have done so. Sneaky's ulti made it happen.
Really not worth it. That's 2 going on 3 turrets as far as that goes. And they could have gotten the kill quickly, but it looked to me like X Special held his ultimate because he thought they had the surefire kill. And then it took 4 people an extra 15 seconds to run down Impact and cost them several turrets. So I like the idea, but the execution failed there for Team Dignitas. And C9 gets the edge.
He's trying to play far back. He's basically on his own fountain. Just already too much for him.
Oh, man. That's the evolved wings and the evolved claws right there, just eating Lod as he's isolated. Not to mention, because they were able to kill all those turrets and kill Lod, looks like he's soloing the Drake.
There you go, Contracts. You get the kill credit. Just like normal, the bot laner does all the work, Jungle gets the credit.
Malzahar kills
like everything.
Really fast.
Yes, he does. They're trying to knock this one down. Can C9 show up in time? They know that Kha'Zix' bot
Not
lane.
even warding inside yet, they can't.
Rise goes for the fake ulti, no one shows up. Here's the wind up for someday, and the execution comes in. Nicely done. Team Dignitas successfully secures the Baron.
Yeah, with 2 strikes in the count, they're able to swing and hit right there because they had lost so many objectives in the prior trade, but because Sneaky stuck around to kill that Drake, and then even because Contracts ran all the way over to finish it, it just bought so much time for Cassiopeia Malzahar to take down that Baron. That's something that C9 wasn't respecting, was how fast Cassiopeia can kill it, as well as Malzahar, as the Voidlings not only do a bunch of damage, but also tank very well against the Baron. So Smart play by Team Dignitas to get something back there and kind of prevent a C9 snowball that was starting to happen due to all the turrets.
Really very helpful. We'll see if they can keep going or if they're going to strike out with this Baron. Hoping to keep the gold close. 3,500 the deficit that Team Dignitas has to work through. Sieging up for the mid lane. Looking to land the shots. Chase taking a bit of poke, but that turret will fall, and there we go. That first one gonna drop. There's 2 turrets gone overall. The first objective that Dignitas has secured since that Baron. Still plenty of time to work with.
Someday looking to chase down. There aren't powered recalls on Team Dignitas. So I would like to fight here, I believe, if they can get a good initiation.
Chaser's low, it has Guardian Angel, so he still feels good kicking someone in. Quick satchel for Keen, getting down to the bot lane. He's going to clear this wave up. Overall, Cloud9 have still done a pretty good job of wave control. We need to see how many more turrets Team Dignitas can get during this Baron buff. But we know the Drake won't spawn during it. So far, only one outer turret has been their gain.
Yeah, and it's still anyone's game. All 3 of these games between Team Dignitas and C9 have been pretty close.
Back, and now Jensen going to get over the wall. He knows the ulti was burned. Freedom, exactly. Jensen gets away.
He definitely does. Oh, man. Building up towards what looks like to be a Rabadon's death cap as well. Just a 3,000 gold difference between these guys, and strong tanks on both sides. Strong team fighting as well. Slightly stronger, as you mentioned, towards Team Dignitas. They have much more damage with which to cut through the tank line of C9, but C9 has invulnerability on their side from Smoothie's Taric. Most of this game is going to come down to execution as Team Dignitas brings the gold closer by picking up the outer turrets.
All right, look at that. Finally, the 3 have been grabbed. That's 2 turrets during the Baron duration. The rest is probably going to time out. So, not a bad pickup. 3,000 gold in total, roughly, not counting kills. There we go. Down the rest of it goes. And with 40 seconds after the Baron buff, not likely to grab too much more out of it, but maybe they can get the vision control and look for that respawning Cloud Drake. Once again, the top laners matched up. The shield blocking the shield. Big special, once again, use the Scryer's Bloom, look for something to do. Keen taking all the farm, the blue and the grump away from Chaser. It's all to Keen. He's the one with the gold.
Yeah, and they're really trying to funnel farm into him. We know how strong Cassiopeia can get in the late game. Void Staff is very important for him as well to cut through the magic resistance of impact. Yeah. Neither one of these teams have spectacular backline access. It's mainly Kha'Zix and Lee Sin trying to dive through to kill squishies. So Contracts with a slight edge in that, because if he could get onto an isolated lot, he can gobble him up. It's going to be really hard to do against a Malzahar, who often just ults as soon as a Kha'Zix jumps into a fight. Meaning, they generally just front-to-front team fight and see who can kill the tank first.
Absolutely. And speaking of killing tanks first, you always want to look at power spikes. Keen only a couple hundred gold away from Void Staff. Jensen significantly farther away from finishing death cap, so in, I'm going to say 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute, the power spike for Keen comes in first, and it's a trough Jensen has to wait through to a certain extent. Void Staff just now done for Keen, so he's big.
Yep.
And Jensen only sitting on 1,000 gold, needs a few hundred more till he has death cap money. We'll see if this ends up lining up with the Cloud Drake spawn or not, but it is really a big deal. Jensen is the majority of C9's damage.
Very true. Sneaky with the Ghostblade Infinity Edge and Lord Dominic's regards. As well as being on Jhin. Just doesn't have the sustain damage. Will pack a punch with his burst. So if he sees a low target, that 4th shot crit will be strong in teamfights. A lot of executes in general coming in from C9's team composition, but a lot of that is on Jensen to get them low in the first place.
Jensen very much nearing that death cap point. He already does 900 damage with an Empowered Overload. That's with the E on it. And that's going to go to well over 1,000 when that item comes through. It'll be nice when he gets it. Still trying to play in his own jungle, looking for the farm to grab, but there's just nothing up on the map to kill. Hoping that he can get that death cap before a team fight erupts. Otherwise, the major spikes are kind of here. Loud looks like he's going for Bloodthirster as his durability item choice and his life steal.
Yeah, that is...
I assume anyway. Maybe it's Vamp Scepter and an Essence Reaver, who knows?
Yeah, it very well could be. A lot of times, Ashe would build an Essence Reaver just because of the lower cooldown reduction on the ultimate, but really haven't taken that many shots with the Ashe Arrow, and Wants to make sure he's not getting gobbled up by Kha'Zix in the team fights.
Yeah, Kha'Zix Nautilus is just enough to kill you off. And again, he's got damage on his team already. The more risk-averse thing, I think, makes sense for Lod in general. He's not required to hard carry the same way Jensen will be with his item build. Death cap done for Jensen, though. They managed to buy enough time. Cloud Drake is alive. And Cloud9 actually the team that took control. They've got the control ward right there. They've got the Scuttle Crab as well. And it's darkness right now for Team Dignitas. Sneaky clears mid, comes to join the team.
Some days in base and they don't have wards to flank in for the TP, so
There it is.
you might see a fight. Cloud Drake's gone.
Very quick pickup. One ward was killed off. Keen wants to block off the movement. Quick shot comes in from Sneaky, and there's no minions in mid lane yet for Dignitas to push in with, so that inside track meant nothing. C9 now back in action, looking for something to do, waiting for the play as the team separates, looking for Keen, and how far will the team really go? Looking for the play, a big ultimate is on, they're all invincible, Someday has to kite right back out, but a big stun comes in, looking for the kill, Guardian Angel pop, Contract's low, can they pick him up? No, not just yet, and they finally pop Guardian Angel, Keen gonna go down, Sneaky staying alive, gets the shot up, picks up a second, Someday's gonna be next up, but Lot still alive in the backline, Life stealing it up, but gets caught out, and there's a double kill, more coming through, only X-Special left alive, C9 starting to run through it all.
Where are you gonna juke, X-Special? Are you gonna run a straight line? Blocks with the Voidling. That's why Impact wasn't throwing his Q.
And either way, it tanked the Voidling regardless. X-Special didn't have to flash it, but he wanted a safer choice. 3 members alive for Cloud9, looking to push down as much of the base as they can. 25 seconds on Lod and Chaser.
It's just X-Special. They have Ryze, a tank, and the Jhin. Are they going to look to end here? Freak, it could be pretty close.
15 to 20 seconds. How well will it go? Special tries to pull the minions away to make it backdoor bonus. The Voidling's helping a lot, and suddenly they're dying too slow. Special with a game-saving move. The Nexus would have died if he didn't do that.
That is a veteran play. It is hundreds of armor and MR that those turrets gain when there are no minions in range. But pulling ourselves back, a great team fight win for C9. Watch this, they have double Cloud Drake, so they want to get engage range. And here, they could go for Keen, but in essence, since it's interrupted, they almost bait Someday to run into the invulnerability, and they have these 2.5 seconds where they can basically blow through Someday's GA and Chaser's GA before the fight really starts. Then X-Special ults Contracts, doesn't even kill him. The team is sitting on redemption as well. So the fight is just really strong for C9 because essentially, as we mentioned, front-to-front team fighting, they eliminated the enemy tanks before anyone could get damage on Impact thanks to the invulnerability. A 4 for 2, I believe, at the end of it. And one Nexus turret thanks to X-Special's game-saving minion pull.
All right, so here we are on the reset game with C9 in the lead, looking to tie up first place here and take down Team Dignitas, having a 4-1 game run through the first week of the North American LCS. And here we can see them trying to play for control over the Baron area. That is alive. Elder Dragon not for several minutes right now. And they have gotten rid of lots of the vision. There's still a control ward in the pit, but the rest of the wards are gone. That's going to drop down. We know Contracts will kill that very fast. Looking for the play. Hawkshot used. They can just take the brush back over. Dignitas pushing in mid lane first.
They have so many options with the Jhin ultimate as well as the Ryze ultimate to just move in on Team Dignitas. The one fear, though, if they take the Ryze ultimate in, it's a mind game about Someday and being able to hit him out with Poppy ult.
Pretty good damage on that frontline tank. Shields it back up, and they are all looking for the re-engage. Ulti on, and Chase is going to get his entire team stunned, or at least 3 of them Someday. 470 damage, another push in, the stun's going to hit him. Do they have the damage? That answer is maybe, and now it's yes.
Can keep
the
going.
stun glasses are on. Cool guys looking at explosions, looking at kills, only getting the 1, and really not that much gain for Smoothie's ultimate. The Chaser is flashless, and maybe they can look at Baron.
Yeah, but you can really see the focus and discipline of C9 in these team fights, not overextending and keeping themselves safe by focusing what is in front of them. Without a tank, Team Dignitas really can't engage a fight. Impact so good at just staying in front of his team and knowing exactly what a tank should do. So watch this. Impact always in front for Team Dignitas. Nothing could reach him, so Dignitas is always on the outward retreat, and Someday kind of has to do the same thing, but because of stuff like the Nautilus ultimate and the Terrork ultimate, they just don't have the access to do the same damage back to Impact. And they kill Someday once again.
And he finishes the respawn in 7 seconds, but Cloud9, 5 Baron buff strong. It's going to coincide with Elder Dragon spawning. They don't necessarily need it, though. They've already got mid inhibitor down. Top lane 2 turrets available, or they can simply push for bot lane. And looks like that's going to be the call. Impact already prepping the wave. The rest of Cloud9 looking for a trap inside the jungle. They will not find it.
Yeah, with the Baron buff and Jensen's Rise ultimate, the window is open for trying to find access into the base. Jensen's going to try and help the super minions along in the mid lane.
Yeah. The question is, can Keen get damage out in a team fight without getting exhausted? Because this is going to come down, looks like, to a team fight, maybe in front of a turret. Impact can ignore the damage of that pretty easily. He's real durable. He's a late game Nautilus. Whoop! Almost a risk there, but doesn't take any damage.
Alright, just tanking up the turret. It's one important change between last season and this is the lasers are gone, so these tanks are much better at just walking into end games and forcing fights under these turrets.
For a bit more damage. Look at that chunk coming in. They're going to find the stun on the contracts. Can they finish him off in time? No, they can't deal with it. Tarek turns him invulnerable, and that's one kill picked off. Sunday's first chaser is going to be next. The Koreans are falling in Cloud9, pushing into the base. A double kill for Jensen. That's them all dead. Lod's the last one standing, and he's not even that anymore. A triple kill for Jensen, and Cloud9 will cement themselves in that first place tie. They will be 2-0 as he leads Impact almost to his suicide. Why not send a couple minions in? Who even cares anymore? That's going to be the game, the match, in Cloud9 ending week 1 first place with their former teammates of FlyQuest.
And such good team fighting by C9 down the stretch right there. The timing on Smoothies, Tarek ultimates were exquisite. Jensen, deathless that game. Sneaky, only the one death. Impact subs in for game 3, and in my opinion makes a huge difference in the team fight discipline Cloud9 was able to display, and it keeps them undefeated.
I completely agree. Impact, hugely important in this one. Someday felt like a non-factor, to be honest. Impact shaking hands, and that's got to feel good to get subbed back in such a close game, such a close match, and definitively win the matchup, and definitively be a major factor in winning that game.
Absolutely, and I have to say, very, very good series here in week 1. And Spring Split in LCS, these teams, a lot of them are working with very minimal practice. Even Team Dignitas, most of these teams didn't really start getting into the heavy scrimming until very early January, so it's only been a couple weeks. We'll see, hopefully, improvement and some cleanliness in more of the play as this progresses. But this was a 38-minute game with only a few pivotal team fights, and it was neck and neck for pretty much the entire series. So these teams, more so than the other teams in the LCS, I feel like displayed a large amount of discipline in the way they were playing the game.
And a large amount of skill. I think Cloud9 and Team Dignitas both living up to the off-season hype. Impact looking as amazing as ever. Chaser definitely feels like a better jungle than Contracts, but Contracts is certainly no slouch. He is strong. Jensen, probably the best he's ever been playing. I feel like every game so far, he's looked really, really good so far in North America.
Yeah, Jensen has been on point.
Yes,
his Echo in game 1, as well as his series against Bjergsen on Friday, were some spectacular games. And even though at level 3, Cassiopeia just kind of wandered off and got double buffs, it didn't really hurt Jensen's laning phase whatsoever. He was always up in CS. Many people consider Cassiopeia kind of the soft counter to Ryze in lane because of the outranging ability. Depending on who you talk to, they'll tell you differently, but that's the way I see it. So Jensen, another really strong game. And even though the one Ryze ultimate in the mid lane had everyone interrupted, it was almost like a perfect bait to start the team fight.
It got them into the fight. They're bunched up. They get a good Tarek ulti on that one. And yeah, they just had the time to burn through the tanks. And that was kind of the interesting thing is I was so worried the entire game about can they actually kill the front line, right? And Kha'Zix is not going to get assassination damage on a Poppy. Jhin is just not an anti-tank champion. And Ryze, generally gets out damaged by Cassio. But I think a lot of it because Impact was winning lane. Like, I mean, Someday has had the capability of getting 10, 11 CS per minute. That did not happen in this one. And he was, half an item, a full item, sometimes down behind what he could have been if his matchup were easier, if his opponent were worse. And now he's actually killable. They are actually able to get through Someday. Someday had 3 deaths. That doesn't happen a lot of the time.
So many deaths.
Many, 3. But
especially when he's been playing on these tanks. So impressive play by Impact for sure. And the draft phase was also super interesting, given the Nautilus over Poppy.
It's a beautiful match. C9 gonna end the week in first place, and good for them. Team Dignitas also, of course, great. But we've got Azael down to the side stage with Cloud9's mid laner.
Thanks, guys. Well, it's hard to beat that. You guys obviously have a huge amount of fan support here today. Has to feel good to go 2-0 in your first week. Were you expecting this result? Were you expecting to start so strong this season?
I was actually expecting us to start out that strong. I thought we'd initially struggle a bit in the start since I think jungle has a really big impact in the game, and Meteos was kind of, I wouldn't say he was the shot caller, but he was more of like a leader, I guess. So we had like some steps that we needed to fill in. But I expected us to be a pretty good team as time progressed, but it definitely came as a surprise to me this early.
So, I mean, speaking about Meteos, obviously a lot of talk about contracts, a lot of hype, understandably, after the first series, him doing so well there. You know, how has it been transitioning to a rookie jungler, and how has it been working out, you know, for you guys and also for him playing with like top lane subs and stuff?
It's been good, I would say. He was a bit quiet in the beginning, but obviously he's not really used to playing on a big stage. But our coaching staff is helping us a lot to gel together and just become a really good team. So I think we've been progressing a lot faster than I initially expected. So it's going good.
Awesome. Well, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on some of the 10-ban system, because, you know, this is something that we've seen a lot more diversity with, and you yourself, you know, you've been bringing out a lot of different champs, the Echo, the Fizz, Azir we haven't been seeing a lot. Is that something that you feel allows you to be more flexible, kind of show off different picks? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I like it a lot, actually, because there's more diversity. It's not the same 2 or 3 champions mid lane every game. Like, Azir Victor was pretty boring, in my opinion. So now it's like more flexible. You can kind of force matchups that you couldn't before. So you have more free bans in a way. So if there's a matchup you want to play, then you can kind of force it in a way. Or like if a champion has hard counters that you want to play, you can force the situation. So I think it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, last season, you know, you made it to the finals. This time, do you think you can do it again? Think go one step further, win it all?
I definitely think this is the year we'll win it, hopefully.
It's the year of Jensen. Well, thank you so much, man. Congrats on a great start to the season. And we're going to head it back to the desk. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Azael. Cloud9 in a crazy awesome 3-game series there. Yeah. Victorious over Dignitas. I mean, this is the series that will now set the bar for the coming weeks in terms of the North American LCS and the level of play that we want to see out of teams.
Right. I think a lot of teams will be reviewing this game, this series as a whole, to see how to play pick ban, how teams are handling setting up plays and dealing with the tanks that are coming in a lot of places, and just the mid control mages, because we saw over the course of the series a lot of things adapted and changed based off how the games were going.
Exactly. These two teams seem to have a very clear understanding of their own win conditions and strengths and weaknesses, as well as the opposing team's win conditions and strengths and weaknesses, from champion select all the way to that victory or defeat screen. Once again, we had a very intelligent draft out of both of these teams, but with a slightly different focus.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they approached it the same way, where in the first phase of the draft, they did not want to end up with too many mismatches, and the only difference was that Dig on blue side target banned a couple other things like the Varus and the Shen, as opposed to the mid laners.
Right.
So we saw the 2 high priority mid laners come out during that first part, but other than that, it was mostly the same. The other big difference being the Turret counter pick to Malzahar.
Right, and that's where, though, Jensen's point about more variety in the mid lane and some excitement around the different matchups comes in, because yes, this time they weren't targeting the mids. He gets the Ryze Cassio matchup and gets to play something different. Let's jump into the game itself. Jat was talking about how, you know, a lot of times people look at low kill games and they go, well, yeah, high level games are low kill games. That might not always be the case, but what we can say is, although this was a low kill game, it was a high action game, because we saw a lot of big fights that would only net in maybe 1-0s or 1-1 trades.
Right, it's that kind of thing where there was that one team fight bottom where C9 lost 1 person but almost killed 2, and then they're standing around the bot lane. There's no objective going down because both teams play it smart. Impact tries to sit in the bush to get a cleanup kill with Jensen, and Keen plays it smart, wards the brush. These are the kinds of things that in a less competent team, you would see them make that mistake of walking forward with the farm and getting picked off. So I think it was just really heady play by both teams that resulted in what might seem like a slower game, but still had a lot of fights.
Especially in game 3 as well, right? Because that's where the most pressure is going to be sitting on your shoulders. For all of these players to be executing at the level they are is very impressive. I do want to dive into the one replay we have. 34 minutes into the game, C9 going to come out 4 for 2, plus a bunch of turrets. Here we go.
And the big thing to look at is this ult by Smoothie. It keeps the tanks alive for so long on the side of C9 that it gives them time to burn down the ones for Dignitas. So Someday gets super low very early in the fight. Impact basically full health throughout this. Dig makes a decent choice of trying to get to the back line of them, and it looks like they have a small hope with Laud alive.
I was gonna say, Laud's doing as much work as he can right now.
But unfortunately, eats the hook from Nautilus just around the corner, sneaks it in. He had flash, and maybe...
If he had flashed that wall over into like the riverside brush, there's a possibility he gets the 2 carries.
Yeah, with the Hurricane procs, maybe he's able to pick them up, but ultimately that's not the case. It's an extremely close fight. It's the game decider, and from there, C9 was basically able to, get the inhibs.
Right.
Smart play by Xpecial to extend the game a little bit longer, but not quite enough to actually bring the game back.
And that's the thing, even in a lost fight, we see the heads-up play from the veteran in Xpecial where he understands what he needs to do to extend the game as long as possible, give his team time to take another stab at the game. But ultimately, falls in C9's favor. Player of the game, Smoothie. You mentioned it. That was just one replay of a stellar ultimate. He had 5 in that game.
That bot lane fight that we talked about where they lost 1. They could have lost way more if Smoothie didn't get a great ult on his whole team, basically.
The final fight of the game, he had a 5-man ultimate. So they're diving a bot tier inhib turret with all 5 members being completely invulnerable. So good on him in that Taric pickup against the Malzahar.
Right, it's a risky thing to go for where you're giving up one of the highest priority supports available in the meta, and you're picking this thing that generally isn't seen aside for that counter pick, and he played it extremely well. The ult's very hard to use. I don't think people get enough credit when they get good ones off, and he had a number of good ones.
Yeah, and this series really just serves to excite me about these 2 teams for the rest of the season. We have to keep in mind that they will not play each other again until week 9 of the season. So they played week 1, they gave us a taste. Now we get to track, and this is kind of fun, we're gonna get to track the evolution of and the growth of both of these teams before they ultimately go back at it in week 9.
LCS is scripted, man. Like, you have the preliminary, the early front runners for the 1-2 position, probably these 2 teams meeting in week 1 and week 9. It's a little suspect, just a little bit.
All right,
guys.
I'll talk to the writers. I'll have them tone it down. All right, well, now it's time to recognize our Player of the Game champs from Week 1. So let's check out the Player of the Game leaderboard. After a handful of breakout performances from nearly every team, we've got Someday, Lorlo, Jensen, and High tied at 2 honors each with contracts and 16 others to follow them, netting a single award each. So that's kind of a cool thing where we had a big disparity, a big, it was very diverse distribution of those Player of the Game awards.
A lot of parity, and I think you can see that, especially in the top lane, there's a couple standouts that we got to keep our eye on, same in the jungle. And, High in the mid lane being very impressive as well. And I think this is, especially with the extra bans, you might see a bigger share of these Player of the Games because people get forced into worse situations. And I think you deserve credit for playing at a disadvantaged pick ban phase well. So those are some things I want to keep an eye on.
Specifically looking at this top 5, although Contracts is tied with 16 other people, we had Someday coming in, huge expectations. Guess what? He lives up to it. Lorlo, we were coming in saying, all right, is he going to make a name for himself as a top laner in the midst of all these great names? Well, he does exactly that in week 1. Jensen, who was 1 or 2 in the mid lane last summer, or last year in its entirety, comes in and still shows up. High, a lot of people wondering about how he would do coming back in. Will his mechanics match up? Is he going to be a solo performer still? Well, not only that is he playing very well in his lane, but also as a shot caller and a leader, and Contracts as well as Acadian, both the 2 rookie junglers coming in and putting up big performances. Well, that's how our players rank among one another. Now it's time to take a look at how our teams stand. C9 shares first place with FlyQuest after finishing week 1 in 2-0. Dignitas joins Liquid, P1, TSM, Immortals, and CLG in the center of the standings, tied for 3rd. And in last place, it's Echo Fox tied with Envy. We'll be back to kick off week 2 of the North American LCS on Friday when Counterlogic Gaming tries to hand FlyQuest their first loss. Didn't think I'd have to say that since after that, TSM squares off against a Team Dignitas. But if you need more league, make sure you tune in for the premiere of the North American Challenger Series Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So on that schedule here for Friday, TSM, Dignitas looking really strong. TSM able to pull up a victory here today. Will they be able to bounce back and actually challenge a strong-looking Dignitas, or do you think that's fallen Dignitas' favor?
I actually don't know, because TSM is a team that I think will improve very quickly. Just based off how strong their infrastructure is, and the work ethic of those players is phenomenal. And on the flip side, Dignitas has come out and surprised a lot of people, but there's no reason to think that, oh, there they are, that's Dignitas, they're not going to get better either. So I think it's really about the adjustments that these teams can make within this week to get a better handle on exactly what they want to play, because you were exposed to your little scrim pod in the first week, but now it's going to branch out, and people will start learning more very quickly.
And there's going to be so much about watching the tapes. You mentioned specifically this series, but everyone's series of week 1, start to learn the trends and the priorities that different teams place on different champions. We'll see how it all evolves. You don't even have to wait a full week to see more League of Legends. That's going to do it here for week 1, though, on the broadcast. If you're not ready to leave just yet, stick around for the North American LCS tonight, coming right up, where myself, Jat, and Zyrene will recap all the standout moments from week 1. Now, from all of us here in the live broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bedhead.
Jake, your mom's waving to you, dude. Wave back.
Oh, Jake. Come on, buddy. She's got the Naruto thing on, dude. He's like, my Jake's gonna be a Hokage someday.
Yes, it's gonna be turned and burned. The exhaust down, the bullet time out. Stick stay alive. CLG.
Nice.
Nice, got him. Nice. He goes
Oh,
out.
boy.
Oh,
Let's go, hoo-hee. Hoo-hee.
Yeah, I'm going.
Sarah, we're gonna turn it right back around. Uwe. He doesn't have the damage. Sarah, what in the world? Moves the last vital out of the way. Riposte is good. That should be it down. Now he's healing up. Altec, you better run. Oh, Lolo wants it. Going for it all. Kill should be in there. Last vitals in Lolo. Straight into the backline. There's one. Gonna look for the kill now on the pick with his boot. Collects it. No one's high. Gets the double for himself. Matt trying to flash his way out as Lolo looks for it. There's the triple. There's the quadra. No penta and no problem. FlyQuest.
Wait, you should play with show new player tooltips contracts since you're new in LCS.
Oh yeah? I think I actually have them on. I need to turn them off.
Oh.
Jensen might need it though. He's never played League of Legends.
Yeah.
You killed him.
Yeah. It's
2 minutes, 2 grams.
2 grams. That's actually just about as much as I lifted the gym.
There's the chain of corruption. It goes down. Sonic Wave is on the Baron. Here gonna be Svenskaren. Safeguards out.
It's not ogre yet.
The Nexus turret goes down. The 80 carries left. Cody's done it there. The Nexus is down. TSM with the comeback victory.
Yo, quick is dead. I'm kill front. Nice.
Go better.
Nice. Go Baron.
Holy shit, I'm clean. Oh, yeah, nice.
The Koreans are falling in Cloud9, pushing into the base. Double kill for Jensen. That's them all dead. Lot's the last one standing, and he's not even that anymore. A triple kill for Jensen, and Cloud9 will cement themselves in that first place tie.
Holy shit.
I'm really tired, dude. Look, this is gonna be a long season, guys.
Wait, actually, don't worry anymore, dude.